to Wales. Wales through a goal, slots it beyond Fodringham, and the Millers are in front in the South Yorkshire derby. And for the first time in 42 years, Rotherham United win at Bramall Lane. On the edge of the box, Goffin, he can hit them, and he does. Goffin has scored an absolute screamer for Rotherham United. Rotherham United have secured their championship status for next season.
Do me a favour, drop me off in Rotherham.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to New York Talk. This is the Rotherham United podcast, and as always with Rotherham United, there is plenty to talk about. A 3-2 defeat at Plymouth. We have plenty of goals, a red card, a penalty, some dodgy refereeing decisions. We might not fit all this in, to be honest with you. We're going to get through as much as we possibly can in the next hour or so. Yeah, that's where we are. Mick, how are we?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Yeah. That sounds all right.
Did we? I think after the post match on West Brom, we described ourselves as confused, me and Danny. I think that's probably where I still am.
Yeah, I'm with you. Some strong opinions, which we'll go through tonight in terms of the Rotherham situation and the red card penalties. Everything else, I'll go through the comments as they are at the minute. But so Steve Goodney says, "Sorry guys, he hates to say it, but IL should not get paid for the rest of the season." He says. Sarah Ogden says, "Evening all. It seems a tall order, but positives apart from another sending off." Juju says, "Good evening all. Good evening one and all. Can't bear officials, especially Mr. Ward." Martin Holland says, "Everybody get ready for the rant." Parliament, who's up for a special Mick rant? It won't be special. It'll be standard, but that's it will be. I'm sure it will be. Nick says, "All I can say is Ayala 100% knew he would get sent off. The ball was in no real danger. I don't understand his decision apart from just being an utter idiot," says Nick. Shelley says the big issue is consistency with referees. How can you give one decision at the end but not the other? It's killing the game. But Adam Hindmarsh with a positive. Eves. We have some positives to talk about, and this is the thing. We'll come on to speak in a minute, mate. But for the first time properly in a while, I know the Birmingham there were a few positives, but that wasn't necessarily because of us. No. This time there's some real positives we're going to pick out in a minute, and real positive performances from an away game for probably the first time this season.
Yeah, absolutely. Big difference for me in the way that we set up, the way that we played, how effective we were as a team. Yeah, massive change. That's how it felt, certainly to me. Those first 10 or 15 minutes, we were well in charge of the game, you know, and looked like the only ones that were going to score. And then obviously we did. So, yeah, I'm very, very positive in that respect. No problem with it at all. Really pleased.
Yes, me too. I completely agree. It's interesting that such an effect. Friday would have been a travelling day, and Wednesday would have been almost a full recovery day. It's almost like a day's training with the players, and this is the impact he's had with them with very minimal training. Okay, we normally go goal by goal, but we may as well just get the big talking points out of the way. I might wait for Danny on them. Let's talk about first goal, Mick, because I think it's fair to wait for Danny. Will be joining us soon. It's really fair to wait for Danny for the big talking points. The first goal, Mick, Jamie Lindsay scored. Obviously, the first goal, and again, not for one of the first time of the season. It was not against the run of play in the winning away game. We were fully earned that goal, and I'm always happy when Jamie Lindsay gets a goal. That's always a happy moment for everybody.
Yeah, it was, and it wasn't the first chance we'd created in the game either. Sam Nombe was causing all sorts of problems up at the top there for their back line, and they sort of started off the game. Clearly, they want to try and play possession-based football. Clearly, they're not good enough to do it. They've not got the players for it, and we capitalised on that. On a number of occasions in that first sort of 10, 15 minutes leading up to the goal. So it was a fully deserved lead that we took. And Jamie Lindsay took it really well as well. Nice and calm, cool and collected, and just slotted it in that bottom corner with some good work from Nombe in the build-up. So it was fully deserved, that lead, in my view. So, it kind of was reward for the positive play and the lead up right from the kickoff, really. Yeah, it's seems a long time ago now. A long time ago that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Done it just. Yeah. For the first time, it's not the first time this season, but one of the first times we started with two up top. We started Hugo and Nombe. Hugo obviously missed a big chance, but I thought they worked for the first time. This is for the first time. They did work together really, really well. Hugo won the headers, Nombe ran off him, and vice versa.
Yeah.
It shows that they can work. And I wasn't sure that they could work together, to be honest with you. I've seen them a few times. And Hugo's coming for. Hugo always comes in for stick, but he's coming for stick again. But that was a real positive that those two showed that they could play together, and they were so effective together.
Yeah, they were very effective. And if he scores that header, which probably 9 times out of 10 he will bury, then it's the game's far more difficult for Plymouth and the officials to affect at 2-0. But unfortunately, he didn't. And kind of from that point on, we didn't really create many more clear-cut chances until it all started kicking off. And from that point on, it was too late then. So yeah, that side of it is disappointing, but they do work well together, yeah. And it's not really a surprise that if you put somebody alongside either Hugo or Nombe, you know, it allows you to create more chances in the game. It's not a surprise at all, because neither Nombe nor Hugo are really adept at holding that ball up. Whilst Hugo will control the ball, he's not one for laying it off. You know, he's not one for bringing other players in. He's single-minded. He just wants to score goals, and if he's got an opportunity, he'll turn and just turns it into trouble a lot of the time. So having had Nombe alongside him, it worked a lot better. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and also we put crosses into box. I mean, Bramall needs to work on his crossing, to be fair, because there were some poor crosses from Bramall, but both wing backs were bombing on.
Yeah,
this harks to the Warren days. Both full backs were properly bombing on.
Yeah,
I'm going to come to Dexter later, but we put crosses into the box, and Nombe could have scored. Hugo should have scored.
Yeah,
teams don't like the ball into the box when you've got something like Hugo in the box, and it sounds so simple. And in my head, I'm thinking it can't be that simple. Just cross the ball.
Yeah,
but then it was. It caused them all sorts of problems, and then we were obviously scoring from it in the second half, which we'll come on to that later. But we scored from a cross again.
Yeah.
It's just, is it simple? It can't be that simple, can it?
Who knows? Seems to be. Seems to be, doesn't it? Yeah. We've been screaming on this podcast for the whole of this season to get that ball in the box more, and as soon as we do, there you go. The goals start to come. So there's a lot of positives, I think, to take from the performance, from the setup, from how organised we look. From the fight and aggression that the team showed, the passion, the desire, all those things seem to be on their way back a little bit. But all that stems from being organised and knowing your job and doing your job, and also being more progressive and like we said, putting the ball in the box and getting it into that final third. So overall, it was a very good performance, I felt. And difficult to pick too many, and there are some, obviously, which I'm sure we'll come on to, but it's difficult to pick too many negatives from the performance overall. I thought we were pretty decent and good for a win.
Yeah, I agree. I do agree. Let's go through some talking points. Some are minor, some are major. The first one was the one where Ryan Hardy eventually got stretched off because he got knocked out, essentially. Ayala was already on a yellow card, Mick. Now, my opinion of this is that Ayala went to win the ball very, very strongly, and it was only, for me, marginally late. The Plymouth fans are suggesting that should have been a second yellow and a penalty. I see what they're saying, but if you're going to start giving that penalty, second yellow and a penalty, it went box.
Yeah, it might have been. If it's a second yellow, it's not a penalty. If it's a penalty, it's not a second yellow. He's made a genuine attempt to play the ball.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, I agree. If you start getting that as a penalty, then we're going to be, well...
well, nothing would surprise me, mate.
No.
Nothing would surprise me. So, and I think, you know, the problem with this talking about this incident, it leads into everything else. Because for me, that incident was probably that, and the Hakeem Adoffin incident. Those two were the catalyst for the performance of the officials from that point onwards. So, you know, if you wanted to wait for Danny, you might want to wait, or we might just get into it. It's entirely up to you.
We're going to have to get into it. I can't wait any longer for Danny. Let's start with the Hacks one. Let's come over to the Hacks one. For me, it's a red card. Yeah. I think he's late. He's over the ball. VAR gives that as a red card every day week, don't they?
Oh God, yeah, absolutely they do. You know, the first one, the header, the clash of heads is exactly what it was. You know, both players making a genuine attempt for the ball. One of them gets there first, and they clash heads. It happens. That's how that is football. You know, and I do not agree that should have been anything other than what happened. I don't think Gavin Ward thinks that.
Well, yeah,
but I think he thinks he made a mistake there. I don't. He got that. It's one of the few decisions in my view that he got right all afternoon. So it is a clash of heads. Simple as that. Hakeem Adoffin, yeah, you're right. You're right. He's late. It's a red. Not going to argue with that. It should be a red. But he didn't give it because he did his Gavin Ward thing of not giving the big decisions, didn't he?
Yeah. That's always the thing with Mr. Ward, isn't it? He's got no bottle. He doesn't like the big decisions at all.
Absolutely. We've seen him so many times, and we've seen this happen time and time again. And it seems to me what's happened. He's seen the injury. He's realised he's made a mistake, and he's thought, right, I am going to make up for this.
Yeah.
And that's what he's done instead of actually having any bottle and just doing the right job sticking your hand up. I made a mistake. Let's just carry on. But we didn't, did we? So
no, we didn't. Yeah. I was surprised. I know it was a late challenge. I was surprised. I was surprised how bad the injury appears to be, because I know it was a bad tackle. I know it was high, but he also went off with a serious, with what appears to be a very serious injury.
I think
go on. I was going to say it didn't seem it was a bad challenge, but I was surprised that what appears to be the extent of the injury, because I feel like we see those half every week, those really bad ones.
Yeah, and I think what's happened is I don't think it's necessarily a particularly bad challenge. He's missed the ball, so it's a late challenge, and I think the player's got his foot stuck in the floor rather than, it's at the same time. So listen, it's a red card. I haven't got an argument with it. There's no way that Hakeem Adoffin's intended to do him any injury, but I think the issue is that he's got his foot stuck in the grass, and obviously it's that's caused the injury. So yeah, he's got it wrong. He got it wrong. Both of them. Hakeem Adoffin got it wrong. Gavin Ward got it wrong. Yeah, should have been a red. I'm not, can't say more.
Yeah, absolutely. We got lucky with that one, to be fair.
Yeah.
Football evens itself out, I've heard. Danny, how are you doing, Danny?
I'm doing all right, lads. How are we doing?
You've timed it very, very well, to be honest with you, because we're just about to get digging into the penalty incident. We've saved all the big juicy moments for you. John Morel has reported that Hardy had a fractured eye socket and the other guy had a broken leg. That's this is a contact sport, so they're not defend. We've just gone through the Hacks thing. Bad.
Can you imagine a footballer getting a fractured eye socket in a game that Gavin Ward's refereeing? Nothing being done about it. I just can't imagine that happening. Can you?
No.
Oh wait, hang on.
Anyway, on the IR, Hardy, Nick thinks it was a clash of heads. It happens, but hope the fellow is okay. Yeah,
100%, yeah, absolutely.
Nickel Juice says on the Hacks one, on the Hardy one still. It sounded horrendous. Poor guy didn't have a clue where he was afterwards. You could see he was out cold to start with. It wasn't a pleasant look. Nick says we all know Hacks. We all know Hacks is not the person who want to hurt anybody, but it is ready. It's just late. It happens. It happens. Let's move on. Matt Miller says the referee gave a penalty. Isn't that a big decision? Is it a big decision, or is it an overcorrection from the Hacks non-red card. Let's talk about the penalty incident, Danny, because there's quite a lot to unpack from a single incident. It was obviously a corner, which Victor has punched away. It's a foul on Victor to start with. Every single corner they had was a foul on Victor. They were impeding him every single time. And for me, there was barely a corner that wasn't a foul. For the actual penalty incident itself, I think the attacker has been smart because they're both pulling each other's shirt, but the referee can only see one pull. So he's assumed that it's Nombe pulling him and has given the penalty. It's not a yellow card. The yellow card was madness. That's a side point, I suppose. Thoughts, Danny?
It's an overcorrection, 100%. Like I say, Gavin Ward can only see the one angle, but the angle that he can see isn't enough to give a penalty in, say, a standard matchup where the referee has actually made some good officiating calls. But in that one, it's an overcorrection because I think a Dolphins one was at least a booking. I don't think it quite warranted a red card unless they proper scrutinised it like they do with VAR in the Premier League. But yeah, for me, it's an overcorrection because it's 6 or 1.5 dozen other between the attacker and Nombe.
Agree.
And I think it's an overcorrection just because, he's let a few things go. Obviously, the home crowd's got on top of him as well. And Gavin Ward isn't the type to, stick to his guns. He definitely has an influence from if he's not. Yeah, exactly. He's not the type to show a backbone. Like we've seen it when we played, was it Ipswich we played? Potentially, where the home crowd got on top of him and, started giving decisions their way, but we still managed to come out with a 2-0 win. Exact same thing with Plymouth. The home crowd got on top of him. And I think he was just poor for both teams, to be fair. Not just for us giving it Plymouth's way, but also for Plymouth not giving blatantly obvious fouls from us as well. And the one that he did give for Ayala, which I'm sure we'll talk about later on, he couldn't not give, But the penalty is soft as as anything. It's like I say, 6 1.5 dozen other. It's one of them where in a quote unquote normal game of football, it gets waved away as well. You're both doing it to each other. It don't matter. But because he's let some big decisions go Plymouth way, then he sort of overcorrected for it and gone, I should give them a penalty. And end of the day, for referees, they try and even it up to look better on the review form that gets submitted to EFL and FA, don't they? They could make an absolutely horrific decision one way, but they've corrected it by giving a penalty against the other team. And I think that's what Gavin Ward's done. I think it was an absolutely horrific refereeing performance overall from Gavin Ward. I think it's his 3rd time refereeing Plymouth this season, and all 3 haven't been the best. Yeah. And it's just poor. Again, it's just poor. There's just zero consistency at all between referees. All right, fair enough. Rotherham were absolutely flying into some of these tackles and should have had more players booked. Red cards, jury's out on that one, but we deserve to be the only team that were getting booked. However, later in the game, Plymouth got let off a hell of a lot because of how Gavin Ward officiated the first half, I think. So like I say, it's just poor. I think you'll see a vast difference between the reports that Rotherham and Plymouth submit on Gavin Ward for that game. Plymouth will be singing his praises for the penalty and the sending off. We'll be saying he were absolutely shocking. But overall, on the penalty, there's not enough in it. It's one of them where if VAR scrutinised it, they give it, but without VAR, it's very, very soft.
Yeah. Joe, who from Argyle Life did the pre-match thing, was says he thinks the penalty was soft but had to be given. However, if you're going to be given that, it's got to be consistent. It was going on in both boxes all game long.
Exactly.
Danny is right, poor from both sides. Several big moments missed. For example, how I'm not going to avoid to say that play, but avoided the yellow. The clash with Hugel is beyond him.
Same with the foul on Revan that led to Plymouth's winner as well. That's a foul on Revan.
if that's a foul on Nombe, if that's a foul by Nombe, that's a foul on Revan in the 96th minute.
Correct.
They're equally soft, but if you're going to give one, you've got to give the other. But yeah, we were talking about Joe, but just when we did the pre-match thing with Joe, after we stopped recording, we had a long chat about Gavin Ward and how rubbish he's been for the Plymouth games this season and how rubbish he is in general. Nick, penalty incident. Your rant fans are waiting for you to unleash on Mr. Ward, who's probably not watching, but you know, there might be. He might be.
I might have stolen Mick's thunder with Gavin Ward on my little rant there.
No, you haven't, Danny. You haven't. I don't agree with you. There weren't a penalty incident because there shouldn't have been a penalty. There is no way on this earth that is a penalty. Absolutely no way on this earth. I'm sorry, but it's not. There's two players, both grappling with each other, both of them grappling with each other, like the other 22 players that were in penalty, or 21 players that were in penalty area, all of them grappling with each other. It's not a penalty. It's not a penalty. I'm sorry. And he's done it just simply because he knows that he's made a mistake previously. It was an awful decision. Awful decision. Now, Tom Eaves comes on later on and he gets his shirt ragged about all over the place. I know that happens all the time. I'm not asking for fouls. But if you're going to give that penalty, you've got to give them. You've got to give the Revan one. You've got to give all the Hewell ones where he gets his shirt pulled, and then not give the ones where he falls over clutching his face. But those get given, and all the others, all the pulling and pushing and all over the pitch for both sides, by both sides, is not given. Sorry. That's a dreadful decision. And it's a dreadful decision because he knows he's overcompensating because he's made a mistake for the red card with Hakeem Adofin. And that sums Gavin Ward's performance up absolutely perfectly. And I put it out on a tweet. You know, he's giving corners when the goal kicks. He's giving goal kicks when the corners. Didn't
that corner come from? It came off the Plymouth guy, didn't it?
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
But let's not get bogged down in rules, shall we? You know, because they're not important, are they? You know, when he listen, it was back to his usual self yesterday. We've probably had the last couple of games that he's refereed. We've probably been on the beneficiaries' side. This time, he certainly made amends. He absolutely made amends. It was one of the worst refereeing performances I have seen in a long time, and there's been some bad ones.
Worse than Bobby?
It's difficult. It's a tough call.
I think the thing with Madley was Madley had a mad 20 minutes or whatever it was.
Yeah,
other than that, it was okay.
As soon as that foul was given for Hakeem Adofin and he gave him a yellow card, from that moment on, he completely lost the plot in terms of his decision making. I mean, explain to me. Mike's in the comments. He might be able to explain to me, but when a team takes a quick free kick, has a shot on goal and misses, where in the rules is it so we can take that back and start it all over again? Because that's what we did, you know. And I do agree with Danny. You know, if you're going to give the foul on for the penalty, then you have to give the foul on Revan, which led to their goal. You have to. You can't give one and let the other one go. But he does. I'm sorry, it's just not acceptable. And I know Mike's put in the comments about us being refereeing experts. No, we're not. In any way, shape or form, we're not. But we've all got eyes. And we all know the basics of football. And we know the basic laws and how they should be implemented. And all we're asking for is implement them the same every time. Every time. That's all we're asking. It's not that difficult. You know, and it's mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing. The fact that this can happen week after week after week after week, I can't get my head around it. It was a dreadful performance for both sides. I'm not saying that
it weren't like there's no bias against Rotherham here, is there? No. It was just not very good.
It was appalling. It was just dreadful. I can't honestly. I'm almost speechless at how poor he was yesterday, but it affected the game. It impacted the game massively, and it lost us the game. That and Ayala's stupidity. But,
We will come on to that.
But the bottom line, as far as I'm concerned, is even with 10 men, we could have probably won that game, or we could have won that game. I'm not saying probably, we could have won that game had it not been for the decisions that he made, the wrong decisions he made.
Yeah,
not good enough.
A few comments. John says it doesn't think it's a pen in a million years, but the Plymouth Gale get an A-star in drama class. Mike's big speed opposite. It's a penalty all day long, but the issue is inconsistency yet again. Nick says the corner shouldn't happen in the first place. It came from a header. It came from heading a shot on target. I'm pretty sure it was the same corner.
I think it was.
That I was look. I thought that's the wrong decision. It's not the right decision. And like I said, you guys not even mentioned that foul on Victor, because it's definitely a foul on Victor as well, ignoring everything else.
Yeah, but,
yeah. Look, it's the consistency of the issue. If we're going to do that, and that's great. If we had to say this every season, if we're going to give those penalties, that is absolutely fine.
Yeah.
Let's get 4 penalties a game for everybody, because it is, and that's the issue. And there's no point going any further because Mick and Danny have nailed it.
This is exactly it. If there's some shirt pulling, give it every single time, not just once, every time, wherever it is on the pitch, give it, because it happens all the time. Don't give me this 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. First one you see, give it every time, every single time. And yes, the game will be a pain in the backside for a while, but it'll stop eventually.
Or don't.
Yeah.
There's no. You can't go in middle.
Choose which ones you are going to do and which ones you aren't.
Yeah.
Not. Yeah. Anyway.
Mick on the last pod said he'll take Gavin Ward every time. You did mention that. Yeah.
Well, it's all right, Simon. That in it until we come to next Sunday, and Dan Bond's done the same to us as well. Big crowd at Leicester and big club, little club.
Yeah.
Let's not preempt. What Bond's going to do.
Martin Miller says, agreed the referee was poor in the game, no question. He does think, however, the penalty was the correct decision, however unpopular opinion decision he made. So, yeah.
Fine.
Anyway.
Give it every time then. And again, like I said, I don't genuinely, if it is going to be given, do it. But Tom Eaves gets 10, 12, 20 fouls a game. You know? Yeah. It can't happen. So don't just overcompensate for making a mistake previously.
John will say, if that's a pen, we've got 10 penalties every week in the Championship, exactly. And a few more we go in when VAR gets involved in Premier League, obviously. Vernon Jones says, who's the person with the Miller's connection that's upset that ref so much? Probably Mick. Sorry, everybody. So let's move on. Because that's 1-1. That's 1-1. This next incident probably enraged players, everybody, more than the actual penalty incident, and that's what type of game it was yesterday. Chaotic and mad. Now, Daniel Ayala, 2 red cards in 2 games. That will mean a 2-match suspension, which means he gets out of the Boxing Day fixture as well as the Leicester fixture. Coincidence or not, you can all make your own minds up.
Feliz Navidad and all that.
I got told off yesterday for swearing so much at Daniel Ayala because when it happened, it was one of the most frustrating and infuriating moments I've ever seen from a Rotherham player that I can remember. It was stupid, Danny. Stupid, brainless, moronic, idiotic. Pick some more words out of me, because honestly, I just was so angry.
I thought you were going to come to Mick first for this rant, but thank you for coming to me first. Because, honestly, like, at the time, I wasn't watching the game live because, you know, I don't have a dodgy stick or IPTV or anything like that. So I was listening to it on iFollow, and I was keeping track on Twitter and everything. And then I saw the clips emerge of the handball itself. And it's one of them where it's just like, what on earth is he doing? And earth is a substitute for a word that begins with an F, by the way. Like, what on earth is he doing? You know what I mean? This is a guy who's, 34 years old, a seasoned defender in this division, and he's decided to turn into prime Maradona right, but at the opposite end of the pitch and try and handball away from whatever striker it was from Plymouth, who wasn't exactly clean through on goal because he had one of our defenders with him that I think was like Morrison or something like that. It was Hikes, right? Okay, so very capable defensive-minded player who would have been able to at least keep pace with their player. And Ayala's decided to handball it after being booked in the game already, after coming back fresh off a suspension, and the dozy arse decides to handball it and get sent off again. Like, all right, fair play. If you want to go and spend Christmas with your family, like, fair play, mate. You've achieved it. You know what I mean? But at the same time, it's such a stupid thing to do that he's let the entire team down again. Like, he let himself down against Swansea with that silly challenge after getting sent off after how many minutes was it? About 20?
17, something.
Yeah, something silly. And he's done it again. Like, I can understand fans' frustration on Twitter saying he should never play in the Rotherham shirt again, because at that moment in time, I felt the same way, right? But it's one of them where you have to be harsh with that sort of behaviour and say, nah, that's not on. You know, that could be Richardson's first test of how to handle a player who's made such a stupid decision that the only sort of punishment is a harsh punishment, whether it's out of the team for a certain amount of time, whether it's a fine, whatever it is. I mean, I'm sure some of the younger viewers who play FIFA know how much of a strongly worded email you get when your player gets sent off in career mode. Ayala should have the exact same treatment, but in real life, because it's such a daft decision that when you watch it back, it makes you even more angry just watching it. You know, it's like, because he's not even last man. If you were last man and it's taking one for team to prevent Plymouth from carrying on, all right, fair enough. If we were already down to 10 men, then, and he's not on a yellow card, then you take one for team. But the fact is, it's still 11 against 11. We still had a chance of getting back into the game. And
it was 1-1, wasn't it? We weren't behind at time.
Yeah, exactly. It was still 1-1. We still had a chance of actually getting something out of the game. And he makes a decision like that. It's just like, it's so infuriating. It takes the words away from you, because it's one of those things where you just want to sit and stew in anger.
And I did last night.
Yeah, it's one of them where it's like you are sat bright red in the face on the settee and someone says to it, "Are you all right?" And you go, "Yeah, I'm fine." And you just grip a beer can a bit harder. Because honestly, just thinking back on it, it annoys me thinking back on it. Like, I hope it's one of those where Richardson has gone into the dressing room and all lads are jaded on, like, sat down, ruined the loss and everything like that, as they should after losing in added time. But I hope he's pointed at Ayala and just gone, "You stupid," whatever explicit that he says to him. Because end of the day, it's harsh, but he deserves it, because he's let the entire team down. I'm sure he understands that, but he needs to be told that at the same time as well. Because it's just stupid, moronic, like you say, Matt. And I think it's annoyed an entire fan base, which is actually some sort of achievement.
Yeah, his own as well.
Yeah.
John Merrill says, "Dare I say he's let the club down. That could be pivotal in the season. Management needs to make a call on him, but can you afford to leave him out, as he's better than most of what we have for us? He's one of the few we have fit." Mick, let me know what you think about this, because this was a bad moment. Overall, it was 1-1 at the time. I think it was 1-1 at the time. Anyway, I'll double check. But we were certainly in the game, and as shown by the rest of the game, it was 2-1. Sorry, we'd gone behind 3 minutes earlier, so the game was at a crucial point. And he does something like that. Well, use your words, Mick. See if you
can. I don't know why he did it. My immediate thought was he got a push in the back, but he didn't. There was nobody near him. He just overstepped his. He'd not gauged the height of the ball well enough. I don't know why he's done it. And if I'm manager, I want a full and frank explanation as to why he's done it. I'm not gonna start. He has let the team down, and I'm sure he knows that. You know, and with 11 men, probably we certainly get back into that game. I'm sure we got back into it with 10 men. So with 11 men, we may well have got something else out of the game as well. So yeah, it's hugely disappointing. Hugely disappointing. Whether it warrants all the personal insults and everything else is another matter entirely, because I don't think it does. I think we're losing our heads of a something that was probably a mistake. I don't think for 1 minute that he's deliberately handled the ball so he gets deliberately sent off. I mean, it's that to make that sort of accusation is just I don't know. I can't even think what the word is for the level of stupidity of that sort of argument. It's just off the scale. It was stupid. It was ridiculous. I'm damn sure he knows about it. I'm damn sure Liam Richardson will have told him about it. I'm damn sure his teammates will have told him about it. I don't think he'll need reminding. Again. We are not, as somebody said in the comments there, we're hardly flush with centre halves. He's a quality centre half. He's an experienced centre half, and he's a leader on the pitch when he's on the pitch, if he can be asked to stay on it for 90 minutes. And that is a fact. So, we're not in a position where we can start just sacking people willy-nilly because they got sent off 2 games on trot or 2 and every, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
2 games on trot for him. It was stupid. Yeah, it was. Why are we all? Why are we all just losing our heads over it? There's been so many other stupid things that have happened this season. So many other poor decisions made by many people with it, both inside the club and outside the club. And this one cost us a game, probably, arguably, maybe cost us a game. If you combine it with the refereeing performance, it did cost us a game. You combine those two together, but. No, I'm sorry. I find it. That's it. It was a stupid thing to do. Stupid decision. That's it.
Very stupid. Yes. You're showing your wise years, Mick, because I'm still annoyed, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'm annoyed with him. Listen, I am annoyed. I'm annoyed by it. I'm annoyed by a lot of things from yesterday. But I'm more annoyed over some of the other things that happened, or as annoyed. It's just another episode of stupidity from another person that was unnecessary. But there were lots of them, aren't there?
John mentioned, of course, he's got this in his locker. I had a look yesterday. I think this is his 7th or 8th red card in his career, and only one of those was a straight red. All the others are 2 yellows. So he's not necessarily a dirty player, but it's a bit of Spanish in him. A bit of. I'm just going to do this cost whatever. And we see that a lot in the Spanish leagues and things like that. Spanish players that come over here, it's just doing stupid things that end up getting booked for. And if you're already on a booking, it's push you down to 10 men twice in a week. Lewis should dealt with it pretty as you'd expect after the game. It's essentially it will be dealt with as basically what he said.
Yeah.
Which is as it would be, because I said in our group chat, if I was Liam Richardson, I'd have sent him out to the post-match press conference.
Yeah.
But again, that's because I'm a fan, and I want to see consequences. I suppose we want to see consequences. That's the thing, innit? We're upset, so we want to see some consequences.
I'd have a walk on.
Yeah. I want to look at a couple of positive, one major positive I want to talk about in a minute. We've got to cover the Bramall tweet. So thanks, Colin, for giving us something else to talk about. Cheers, mate. So there was if you haven't seen it yet, Colin Bramall put a tweet out with the famous Jose Mourinho interview. If I speak, I'm in big trouble. If something like that. Some people have taken that as that Colin Bramall is very frustrated and angry at Daniel Ayala. I have taken, I think as a group here, we have taken it that it was at Mr. Ward, which is not, I'm not sure which is worse, to be honest with you, because if it's Daniel that's at your own teammate, it's quite bad. If he's at Gavin Ward, you're actually risking a potential ban or a fine or something like that. So either way, Danny, it was ill-advised from Colin Bramall. And well, that's it. It was just, either way, whatever reason, he shouldn't be shouldn't have done it.
I mean, in a social media world, yeah, he shouldn't have really said anything, but that goes for anything on social media now. I think actually he's been quite smart about it by giving no context whatsoever and let people run riot with it. Like, I can't remember who put it in the comments, what they've said. Is it about the fans? Is it about Ayala? Is it about the ref? I think that's the point of it. I think, yeah, there we go. Thanks, Harry IOFC. I think that's the point of it. The point is for it to be cryptic. He knows what it means, but we have to speculate. So if it is directed at the referee, there is no hard evidence that it is directed at Gavin Ward. In the same sense, there's no hard evidence it's directed at Ayala or the fans.
Yeah.
So therefore, he might escape punishment from it. He might get asked by Liam Richardson, where was it directed? And he gives a straight answer and he goes, all right, fair enough, but don't do it again, you know. But I personally think it's at the referee, because at the end of the game, our players were absolutely stewing at Gavin Ward. Even Victor was stewing at him after the final whistle, and we thought he'd get a second yellow card after the game, you know. So I think, personally, it's aimed at the referee, which, if it is, it's very cryptically done and avoids a fine, whereas we've seen some players direct it at the referees a little bit less coy, and they've been fined for
example.
Yeah, exactly. Some players aren't coy about it and they get fined for it, whereas I think Bramall's been coy about it, done the Mourinho thing. And it is very true. If he does speak, he is in big trouble with referees, because you can't criticise referees as a player at all, or else you get a fine, unless you're cryptic, which Bramall has been. I think it would be very silly to do it aimed at a player publicly. Like, they'll have had the words in the dressing room, don't get me wrong. Whenever someone's made a silly decision at football and you go into the dressing room, you have words with them, but he never goes out of the dressing room. So I think it'll be very silly for him to do that publicly. Same with the fans, or else he'd lose our support. So that's why I think it leans more on the referee more than anything. But like I say, it's not 100% one way or the other.
Yeah, basically, Mick.
I find it quite funny. I really do, because it's like, you know, it's like when we can all go on social media and scream, ball, shout, call everybody from a pig to a dog, from personal insults, you name it, we can do it. But as soon as a player speaks up about anything, all of a sudden they're wrong, no matter what. And it's just bizarre. It really is. How anybody else could think that's about one of his own team. He's going to publicly tweet on social media about one of his own teammates in that fashion. I'm sorry, I can't get my head around that. Why would he do that?
Yeah.
Why the hell would he do that? You know, he's clearly. I mean, the actual interview that is used was about a referee. I mean, I suppose he could have made it a little bit more cryptic. You know what I mean? Clearly, the players and management were frustrated by Gavin Ward's performance yesterday. Clearly, I mean, we know Victor. We've met Victor many, many times. We know him at what he's like as a person, and I genuinely thought he was going to do something to that referee. I genuinely thought he was going to have another pop verbally. Obviously, he was absolutely livid, and I'm just thinking, shut up, please don't say anything, because you're going to get another yellow, or you're going to get a ban. Yeah. I have never ever seen him so angry, and it was just. So that I'm sure that's where Colin Bramall's coming from. You know, it's just, yeah. It clearly it's about the referee. Why do it about his teammate? I don't know. And again, it's like, you know, they get on there and they put something out, and then all of a sudden somebody gets on the back for it. You know, it is, isn't it? But it was about Ward, surely.
Yeah, as I saw. Power somebody to get herself some calming sweets. Cheers, Power. We'll get on that. John Burrell says, doesn't always have to make. I quite often think you're wrong in 90% of your tweets.
Only 90%. I'm getting 10% right, John. That's a right bonus.
Yeah. Scott Kent says, definitely not about Ayala. Not with how Bramall performed recently. Harsh at Bramall. I thought it was okay yesterday.
Yeah.
Other than not being able to cross the ball, I thought it was really effective at what it did. Anyway, positive time. It's an absolute crime we've got to 45 minutes and not mentioned Tom Eaves. Unacceptable. Apologies. He finally got his goal, and I was celebrating almost as much that Tom Eaves scored than Rotherham scored. Danny, it was just such a moment, and we've talked about Tom Eaves on this podcast a lot, and other people have been much harsher because I don't think we've been particularly positive about the way he's played because he hasn't played particularly well for us. But we've all been willing him to have that success because he's stuck around. He's stuck around, and whenever he's come on the pitch, he's ran around and put a bit of effort in and put a bit of work rate in. If not anything else, he's put that in. And to see him score and to see his celebration afterwards as well, and just a wonderful moment. I'm good. It didn't mean more in terms of points. I'm devastated almost for him. But such a moment for him. I thought it fantastic.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely fantastic for him. I think on the podcast we've been critical but banterous about Tom Eaves without knowing the full picture, but I don't think anyone really knows the full picture. And I think his interview with Radio Sheffield has just scratched the surface that there might be something a lot deeper than he's let on and that fans understand. So, Tom, if you want to come on the podcast and give us an hour just to tell us through it, like, please drop us a message or we'll drop you a message or whatever. Tom Eaves Uncensored, what a title that would be. But honestly, when I saw Tom Eaves scored pop up on my phone, it was like, thank Christ. Because if anyone deserved to score at any point in the game, it was Tom Eaves, because he stuck around with the team. When he's come on, I think he's always given his best, whether his best was wide of the mark or in line, it doesn't matter. When he came on against Sheffield United, I think that was the first time we really saw what he was capable of. But at the same time, his goal against Plymouth was such a Tom Eaves goal, because it's headed back into the box and he sort of miskicks it, but it still goes in. But the important thing is it went in, and it's his first league goal for Rotherham over 2 spells, I think it is, because the other one was in the Football League Trophy, I think. But like I say, it's about time he's off the mark, and hopefully Liam Richardson gets the best out of him, because he went on record publicly and said that he was out of favour with Matt Taylor. Yeah, which I think is actually quite a big thing after the new manager's been appointed. So he must like the way Liam Richardson's been training with them and feels more accommodated, shall we say. And I really hope it spurs him on to score more, if I'm being honest. I'll hark back to last season when I said Tommy was going to be our top scorer. You all laughed at me.
Correctly laughed at you.
Yes, correctly laughed at me. Whereas this season, I think we all want him just to kick on and get more, And I've watched the replay of the goal, and he's so ecstatic that he's finally scored. He's all over the place. He's patting the badge as well, which I think is a huge thing as well. I'm just so happy for him. It's one of them where it's like, I'm happy because it must be such relief off his shoulders. It's that that thing off his back that he's been carrying for such a long time. And just fair play to him. He's got it. Now improve on it,
Absolutely. Nick says Eve was quality and changed the game when he came on. Yeah, without the goal, he had a positive impact. Scott Kent had to love the interview after the match. Scott thinks he had a dig at two managers, not a dig at one manager. Nicola Juice says Eves was brilliant in his celebration, said it all. We love an underdog story, says Simon Thorne, and that's why the fans have a soft spot for him. Even for a Scouser, Mick, he seems like a nice guy and all, to be fair. He just seems the kind of guy that you want in and around. He's a bit like Peltz. They're very similar characters that you just seem to want. You want them in your corner to fight for you. And he said, I thought it was such a good interview that he did on Radio Sheffield, only 6 minutes or whatever it was. If you haven't listened to it, go and listen to it, because it was just nice to see a bloke listen to a bloke that just sort of felt like he released everything in that moment. He could have said a lot more, obviously, but it was a special moment when he scored the goal, and it's just a shame it didn't count for more.
It must have been these last two and a bit years must have been really difficult for him. And he looked strong. He's come on. He looked strong. He looked sharp, and he looked like he got a bit of pace about him as well. Possibly that's because we've seen Hugo up there, who's lacking in pace. He's going to be keen. He's eager. He's desperate to play, isn't he? So hopefully he'll get some more game time, and I'm sure he'll bag some goals. Sure he will. That's the first of a few, because we're going to need a few. So we're going to need.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
We're going to need 5 or 6.
Just so you know, I've said thank Christ for Tommy scoring. Someone in the comments.
Danny, you went on mute.
Was I not on mute? Oh, sorry. I was checking some information.
Oh, brilliant.
My bad. I apologise.
I can't remember what I was saying now. You've completely done me.
Sorry, mate.
Can we have a bloopers reel? Oh, no, it's live.
We can put one out at the end of the season if you like.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, Tommy's top fella. Good interview. Really good interview. Opened up really well to Matty Goodwin. And well done, Matty Goodwin, on that interview as well. Should be working for BBC, frankly.
Yes.
Just
Yeah,
saying.
it should. Yeah, interesting yeah, anyway, another topic. I'm not going to go into that. Yeah, we're all buzzing for Tom Eaves. Yeah, I'm really happy. It was such a good moment. Let's move on to the opposite of good moments, Danny, which is the 96th minute winner, third goal. Just an absolute kicking goal. We've talked about it being a foul. We all think it's a foul. But this is why Plymouth's such a hard place to go. The stats tell you now it's one of the hardest places to go in the Championship. And that's why the fans got fully behind the team. They play quite... I enjoyed the way they played. They were quite frantic and they wanted the ball back in play very quickly. All this other stuff. And you've got to go to the end. And we just half switched off, half a foul. And Whitaker's a great player. And if you put him in that position, Morgan Whitaker is going to score. And we just half switched off for a minute.
Yeah, we did. I mean, I mentioned before about it being a foul on Revan, and the more you watch of it, the more you think it's a foul, if I'm being honest. But we've already highlighted Gavin Wall's consistency between teams. But the important bit is that we don't pick up Whitaker, one of Plymouth's most dangerous players. And he just sort of goes in, and then we just don't pick him up, and he gets the goal. And it's such a massive gut punch in that game where, even with 10 men, we sort of deserved a bit of something from it. And I've seen a few people mention that with 11 v 11, we could have won that game. And yeah, I agree, to be fair. But even with 10, we had a chance of drawing it. And it may have been partially my fault, because I did say that you watch. We've got 7 minutes added time. Plymouth will score in last minute. My mum will testify to that. I did say that, and funnily enough, Plymouth scored at 96th minute. Oops. But it was almost like such a Rotherham thing to do, where we played so well and so resiliently that we sort of undid ourselves anyway. Which is something that I think Richardson needs to work on now that he's our permanent manager. But it's also something I can see improving as well. Yeah.
Shelley asks who picked up Whitaker, just ran through the middle, and other than Victor, nobody stopped you. Yeah. Mick, go on.
Yeah, it was... the person picking up Whitaker should have been Revan. And unfortunately, Revan had been barged out of the way. Or not strong enough in his challenge, one of those two. And given the size of their centre forward and the size of Revan, there's a bit of a mismatch in size there, isn't there? So I think it's a foul personally. It's never going to get given. It's never, ever going to get given. But unfortunately, the player who was fouled was the one that was supposed to be picking up, or should have picked up, the striker who ran on through. So, it was gut-wrenching. It really, really was. After the performance that had been put in, where the very least we deserved out of that game was a draw, the very least. But this is what happens when you're down there, isn't it? Yeah. This is exactly what happens when you're in these positions. We've got to take the positives from it. The performance overall, I felt, was markedly improved on any away game that we've played all season. In fact, markedly improved if you combined all the away games we played up to press. Together. So we've got to look at that as a positive. The difficulty is it's one of the teams around us again that we're losing to. And the stupid thing is we'll go to Leicester on Saturday and pull a draw out of that bag or something, against a team that are not in our battle. I'm clutching at straws there, but you know what I mean. That's the difficulty with it. So, yeah. It was horrible. It was horrible. That goal hurt more than probably any other goal this season for me. Yeah, just because of all the circumstances surrounding it, and yeah, it's you're right. It's a kick in the guts, as the title of this podcast says. But we've got to move on. We've got to move on.
Yeah. It's a different pain, Danny, because this season away, especially away from home, we felt some pain. We felt the anger of losing 5-0 at Watford and 4-1 at Hull. We felt the numbness of losing earlier on in the season, the Stoke game a little bit, where they were high and then low. And this was a different kind of pain, but altogether still a lump of away day pain for Rotherham United. And the fact we played well makes the pain worse. I know it shouldn't, but it just adds to the fact, we should have got we deserved it. And then we didn't. That's the season we're having.
Yeah, I mean, we felt this pain before in the season against Bristol City, where we conceded in the last minute. But it's almost exacerbated because it's away from home, and we were so close to actually clawing out a result, and then it's fallen flat on its face. But I don't know. Sometimes a result like that one really drives a team on to do better in the next one.
Yeah,
because was Birmingham away straight after the 5-0 against Watford?
It was after Hull, but we're playing Leicester away next. So
yeah.
Well, I mean, stranger things have happened in football. Don't get me wrong.
True.
Like Man United somehow tonight. So it's one of them where it's like you look at the result as it's coming live, whether it was on iFollow or Twitter, and it's like, yeah, of course we have. But I don't know. This might be me being a blind, stupid optimist, but I look at that result and look at a new manager coming in, and it's like he could really get the team playing against even the team that's far and away in the top two of the division, and somehow get something out of it. Blind optimism, but again, you never know. We just never know.
You do never know. Results could have gone worse for us. We're only a point worse off in terms of 8-9. It's now 9 points, which is obviously a lot. But it could have been worse. I think it could have been worse. There's no two ways about it. So that's a positive, Mick. Nick says, do we think we have a chance of staying up, or is it too far? Got a lot to play for. If we put 2 or 3 results back together in it, but can we put the results together? Well, the thing is, and I don't like saying this, Sheffield Wednesday have shown you what can happen. They've won a few games, they've gone on a mini run, and all their fans are buzzing. They're staying up with playoffs next for them, knowing if they win again next week. And that's it. That's the positive. That's the positivity that a couple of wins can bring. If we win a couple of games, we'll be back within 4 points. That's not that much in a relegation, but you've got to win the games. Did you see enough, Mick? We won 2 games all season. I think we're now in 22 games. Have you seen enough on Saturday? And it's only 1 game, but have you seen enough to say that there is that possibility of stringing some results together?
You're right. It's 1 game, so we're back into the realms of speculation, aren't we? But the way that we set up and how organised we were on Saturday is far in excess of anywhere being anywhere close to what we've been for the rest of the season. So there's a possibility. We are literally now like let's get 1 game at a time. What can we do? Can we get back in? Can we get close to being in touch? Can we get in touch? And then we take it from there. At the moment, as things stand, it's looking very, very, very bleak. However, there has been a change of manager and a change in performance levels. Let's see if the results follow, and we'll take it from there. But it's going to be it's massive, huge now for us to get out of this massive uphill task.
Yeah, it is. But actually, if you can sneak a couple of wins together, you've got teams above the relegation zone that are just sleepwalking. Huddersfield are 1, Millwall are on level on points with Huddersfield. Stoke are only a point ahead of those. Swansea only 2 points further. Birmingham only 1 point further, and you've got Plymouth who are on the same level of points. There's teams there that are going to be worried, Danny. The teams there looking at QPR picking up points now because change minds. That's a concern. Then we're looking, oh God, Sheffield Wednesday have unbeaten in 4 games or whatever it is. They're our concern. If Rotherham pick up 4 points out of the next 2 games or whatever, Millwall and Stoke are going, oh my God, this is potentially going to become a fight. So that's what we need to do. We need to be scaring those other teams, and hopefully that drags them back down to our fight, or we get into their fight. Sorry.
Yeah, that's what we need to hope for. I mean, it's still what, 8? Is it 8? Still 8 points that we're adrift?
9 now.
9 points adrift, which is 3 wins. But like you say, some of the teams are sleepwalking a little bit, and in the unlikelihood that we do string 3 wins together, which isn't impossible, but
Tom's begging for 3 wins.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's not impossible, but Tom hopes that it is. It strikes me that we could see a relegation fight where 2 teams have already dropped off, or 1 team has already dropped off, potentially us, but we'll wait and see. And then there's like a little cluster down at the bottom that gets dragged into it as well.
Yeah.
That's what always happens, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what always happens. It's just who's going to be that team that's still in the fight come the end of the season. Are we going to see 2 teams mainly drop off, or is it going to be a fight for everybody where 1 win could turn 24th into 21st?
Yeah.
And the way the season's shaping up, it takes 1 good run from, say, us, Sheffield Wednesday, QPR, and it throws it all into turmoil.
Well, the bottom line is, Danny, the next good run's got to come from us, or that's all we do.
That's the important bit. The next good run needs to come from us just to stay in it, really, or else we're going to be that one team that's adrift.
Pigs have put theirs together. QPR are putting theirs together. It's got to be us, or otherwise we're dead and buried. So, but the signs are positive, aren't they? Well, for Saturday.
It did take Danny Roll a little bit to get the ball rolling. Sorry. At Sheffield Wednesday, maybe it's the same with us. We'll have to wait and see, because we can't really predict the future, can we?
No, we can't.
We can try, but we can fail at the same time.
Well, the prediction table tells us that.
I'm the Rotherham United of our prediction table, aren't I?
And I would have to check. You mix 2-1 every week is not helping him, to be honest with you. You'll be shocked to hear. We're going to leave it there. There's a few bits I want to mention. Dexter had a good game, and a few other people from midfield had good games, but I don't think we've got time, to be honest with you. But we've got a game. We're coming again on Thursday, aren't we? For what will be the Christmas episode. So we were back on Thursday. We don't have a special guest lined up for the Christmas episode this year, which is a shame. But we'll still do the Christmas quiz. We'll still do that. That's now tradition. So bring your pens and pencils and Christmas hats. I have got a Christmas T-shirt. Not that you can see it on the camera. I have made an effort. I'll make more of an effort for the Thursday episode. Please make sure you've subscribed to this episode to the channel and like the video if you haven't done so already. We'll do a scout report for Leicester. We'll get the Middlesbrough scout report up quite early. Obviously, the Boxing Day fix. We'll get that up quite early if we can. We haven't made a decision on the episodes for next week because we're not recording at 8 o'clock on Christmas Eve night. That's what we've decided.
Well, I can't because I'm working.
Danny Conks is working. So keep an eye on us. We'll decide by Thursday. We'll say that, and then we can let everybody know on Thursday, can't we? What we've decided in terms of the post-match for Leicester City. Boys, anything else we need to mention before we
I think so.
go watch some darts, because it's darts time of year, isn't it? Cool. Please subscribe, as mentioned, like the video if you haven't done already. If you're on iTunes and Spotify, make sure you have subscribed on there as well, and give us a 5-star rating if you haven't done so already. And get ready for the next episode on Thursday evening. Vic, thank you very much for being with us tonight. It's been a good old jolly time, hasn't it, mate?
Oh, mate, can't tell you. I don't feel any better at all.
Do you not?
No.
Okay. This therapy's not worked for Mick. Danny, does it work for you at all?
Yeah, I feel better. If I'm being honest, I feel a little bit better. I also need to learn how to use my mute button correctly as well, apparently.
Apparently you do, yes.
Yeah.
I thought after a couple of years of doing this, Danny, you might have worked it out, but...
The issue might be that I tried to use my mouse and clicker rather than the shortcut. That might be my issue, but well, live and learn.
We'll send you away with Daniel. I'll have a 2-game ban if you keep doing it, mate. So,
yeah, fair enough. This is my yellow card. We'll take that.
John Morrell says, tweet something meaningless, Mick. That'll make you feel better.
Yeah. I do anyway, mate, as you are very well aware.
Thank you, everybody, for being with us. We'll see you soon. And up the Millers.
Up the Millers.
Up the Millers.
Into Wales, Wales through a goal, slots it beyond Foderingham, and the Millers are in front in the South Yorkshire derby. And for the first time in 42 years, Rotherham United win at Bramall Lane. On the edge of the box, the Dauphin, he can hit them, and he does. The Dauphin has scored an absolute screamer for Rotherham United. Rotherham United have secured